Thanks to the traitor Starmer, Spain will have the ability to stop British people entering Gibraltar. Unbelievable. This will be done on what they call security grounds. Yeah, Spain not allowing Brits to enter a British colony. Let's unpack this carefully. The 336 article draft agreement sets out Gibraltar's future and its relationship with the EU. By the way, nobody has consulted the Gibraltarians. It removes the need for a hard land border with Spain. 15,000 people cross that frontier every day, roughly half of Gibraltar's workforce, mostly Spanish coming in to work. But under the deal, no routine passport checks at the land border, free movement across it, a bespoke customs system to ease goods checks, but, and this is the key, arrivals by air are different. Anyone flying in to Gibraltar from the UK would face dual border controls. First, Gibraltarian authorities, and second, Spanish officials acting on behalf of the EU. That's the trade-off. They're handing Gibraltar, this traitor, this treasonous turncoat, two-faced tosspot in number 10, is handing Gibraltar over to the EU without a referendum of the Gibraltarian people, without permission from the British Parliament. The King might have something to say about it. The Royal Navy might have something to say about it. In fact, all our security forces may very well have something to say about this. Imagine, for example, the Royal Navy is not allowed to disembark personnel because the Spanish said so. This is what treasonous traitor Starmer is doing. Now, Spain would have the authority to deny entry to non-EU travellers, including Britons, if deemed to be a risk for security, public health, international relationships, or they were just being bastards about it. They don't need to give a reason. Spain would also be able to refuse residency permits on similar grounds. So you could have applied for residency in Gibraltar, not Spain, but Spain would say, no, you can't live in Gibraltar, even though you are a British citizen in a British colony. The treaty explicitly states it cannot be used as a basis to assert or deny sovereignty over the rock. Military facilities remain under UK control. Gibraltar is not joining Schengen. Immigration, policing and justice remain local responsibilities. That's the official line. But when no one could go in and out without Spanish permission, how clear is that line? Now, critics say sovereignty isn't just about words. It's about arrangements and how they operate in practice. If the Spanish officers are conducting checks at Gibraltar Airport, if Gibraltar aligns elements of its law with evolving EU rules, the future of the EU acts listed in annexes must be adopted, apparently. Then the question becomes, is this cooperation, or is this the handing over of British sovereign territory to an unelected dictatorship that is the EU? And why is nobody asking the Gibraltarians what they want? They're talking about dynamic alignment. This is the concept of it. It means automatically updating laws to match EU laws, even though Gibraltar is not part of the EU. The government says it's pragmatic. I'm saying it's treason. And we know how we should deal with traitors. Now, the alternative, should this not happen, would be what they call friction. Basically, Gibraltar says who comes in and out of Gibraltar, and Spain says who goes in and out of Spain. And you know what? I'm happy with that. Why not? It's another one of those international borders that Britain has with the EU. We have 3, 4, don't we? But there we go. They want to delay and remove the daily bottleneck. Well, that's fine. You give them a worker's permit. Anyone who's coming into work gets the permit and they come. Not a problem. Easy solved. You don't actually have to give away national assets, security assets, to the Spanish for nothing in return. Will the Spanish be giving up their islands in Morocco? Will they buggery? So why should Britain give up Gibraltar, which I will point out has never, ever in its entire history belonged to Spain? We took it from the Ottomans. That's why it's got that strangely Arabic name, Gibraltar. Spain never owned it. Spain didn't exist when we took Gibraltar. But there we go. Let's just hand over everything at the behest of a traitorous, treasonous, turncoat, two-faced, anti-British shitbag in number 10. What do we get for it? I'll tell you what we get for it. Nothing. Starmer can sit there and knock one out, thinking, I'm destroying Britain a little bit more every day. Less power, less authority, less money. Britain being reduced. It's what he wants. He hates Britain. And we've all can see it. Be the Falklands next. Then he'll hand over Northern Ireland. He'll probably want to let Scotland have independence simply to make England weaker. Although the argument is that since so much money goes to Scotland, making England weaker would involve keeping Scotland. Who knows? Who knows what goes on in that treasonous little brain of his? But here's the balance. There's no hard land border. There's no VAT. There's no control. We hand control over to Spain. Gibraltar becomes part of the EU. It takes the rules. It takes it up the behind. Britain is weaker. Britain is less safe. And Starmer feels very, very happy that he's slowly making Britain worse. Where we go. You know what we used to do in the old days, don't we? We used to have a great punishment for treason. Alas, not anymore. The very first thing Tony Blair did was get rid of that. Let me know your thoughts. Thanks very much. Hit subscribe and I'll speak to you later. Bye.